Jordan,
Iain.
who really wanted to find out why the chicken crossed the road, so bought a farm for scientific research, and now can't stop having sex with chickens.
Keith Richards?
No! You guys! What?
That is not what I expected.
It's only going to get worse from here, pal.
Oh dear. Sign of things to come in chickens.
Hello and welcome to episode 112 of Two Guys What's Up, the weekly comedy podcast where we love chickens. Me a normal amount, but this chicken fucker is Jordan.
Oh,
Jordan, how are you?
I do love some KFC.
Think it's fucking good.
Kentucky chicken.
That's the secret ingredient, isn't it?
Oh, God.
That's why they won't tell you.
It's one of the 12 spices.
Yeah. 11 herbs and spices and Colonel's special sauce.
Oh, this is horrendous.
It was fantastic.
Like 20 seconds in.
Yeah, it's great. Love it.
Oh, awful.
Well, Jordan, let me ask you in a bit more of a human way. How are you today?
I'm tired, Iain. I've had a week of hell.
You've had... Oh, God, yeah, right. I've been not excited, given the context. But
Can't wait to hear all your shit.
yeah, I want to know. I want to know what's been going on. So you've got some news. Finally, you can break it to us all. So fucking fill us in, pal.
Right, so, little bit of backstory, because I don't know how much I've ever said on the podcast about this, but everybody knows that I have a dog called Teddy,
Yeah.
but unfortunately, he's had, stomach and digestive issues for a long time now. I mean, he's only 3 years old at the moment, poor bugger, but he's had these kind of vomiting and sort of sickness episodes kind of on and off for almost going on 2 years.
Right.
So over that period, we've had literally numerous vet visits, and even last March, we ended up claiming back almost £1,000 on our pet insurance because of the various consultations and medications that we've had. So that will give you an indication of how much we've taken him to the vet. Mm-hmm. So we've jumped through all the hoops, and we've taken the vet's advice. We've given him analergenic food, which then became hypoallergenic food, and alongside daily dose of steroids, blah, blah, blah. We've tried to do everything.
Yeah.
And that was pretty successful.
Oh,
So that was good.
happy ending then.
Exactly.
So we're moving on then. Yeah.
So, yeah, a happy ending. There we go. But the problem is that the vet didn't want him on steroids for long term, because apparently they can have adverse long term health effects, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
Which I suppose is fair enough. So what we did was, as a plan from them, slowly weaned him off those steroids over a course of about a month, and he was doing really well without them.
Hey.
So it was good. That was all until this past week. So Teddy, unfortunately, has had me and my wife up literally every single day in the early hours of the morning, just wanting to go outside, maybe eat grass, try and be sick, that kind of thing. Mm-hmm. Pretty horrible. So we've not slept for what feels like forever.
And it's annoying because your motto is, if you're not sleeping, I'm not sleeping. So as soon as you wake up, you call me.
I do, yeah. And you've been very unhelpful when you don't answer.
I'm not a vet. Keep trying to tell you this.
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought that's what you went to uni for.
No.
Ah, okay. Basically, long story short, we ended up taking him back to the vet, and they suggested that we finally figure out what's going on with his stomach issues.
Hey, good idea.
Yes, go for an endoscopy and take some biopsies. And, I mean, we were happy to do that, obviously, but it came at a delicious cost of about £1,000.
That's crazy.
Yeah. I mean, luckily, of course, we are insured, so that's all right. And then the day before the procedure, we had to starve him, of course, which you'd expect.
Of course, yeah.
But he was in so much discomfort. I mean, it was really awful to see. And his stomach was audibly gurgling, going...
Yeah.
Horrible sounds, and he just wouldn't settle for more than 10 minutes. So me and my wife were like, this isn't fair on him. We'd given him his medication for pain relief and it wasn't touching it. So we were like, we better go take him and ring the out of hours. So we ended up contacting the vet, brought him to the out of hours, and they gave him the necessary pain relief that we couldn't.
Yep.
And helped prepare him for the procedure anyway, which was the next day. So that was another 500 quid.
Sweet.
So I'm definitely in the wrong job.
Oh, yeah.
But anyway, to cut an extremely long story that little bit shorter, Teddy's had his endoscopy, his biopsies and bloods were taken. Very luckily, they haven't found anything by ways of growths or tumours.
Good.
So that's a good thing. His stomach and his esophagus were fine.
Wee.
But they found that his intestines were pretty inflamed and they bled quite easily.
Aww.
What they've done is they've taken samples of tissue from kind of all over, and they are going to be checked, and we'll hopefully hear about that within the next week or so, including the bloods. Mm-hmm. So they expect something called enteritis, which is just similar to like irritable bowel disease, really.
All right.
Yeah, so it's more intestinal kind of cramping and that kind of thing. So it looks like from their solution, if it all comes back okay regarding the biopsies, managing it would be fucking steroids. So we're around £1,500 down and we're not any closer to where we were. So how has your week been?
Right, hang on a sec. Right.
Yep, you heard me right.
Right. When you were telling that story, right, you said that they suggested to slowly start weaning him off the steroids, yeah?
Yes.
And I thought you were going to be like, what, that's all you took from that entire story? Because I was going to say to you at the end of all of that, I've never understood how they can just say to you, just wean people off of things, right? Because could I say to you, right, Jordan, I'm just going to slowly wean you off oxygen? If your body needs it, you can't just slowly start taking it away and trick it into thinking that you're still getting it.
It's true.
It still needs that thing.
Yeah.
So when you came to the end of that story, it was like, oh, by the way, guess what? He still needs the fucking steroids. It's like, well, no fucking shit, pal.
Exactly. In a way, though, it's kind of good confirmation, isn't it? At least we know what we're dealing with. It's nothing more sinister, which is good.
I'm sorry. No, right? Any normal physician of any species would have probably gone, oh, well, you've taken him off the steroids and then this has started happening. Okay, right. Well, let's put them back on. We'll do a little scientific test, right? Put them back on them, see if it goes away.
Yeah.
Right? And then if it does, we'll know which one it was.
Yeah.
Not yet, I'll have nearly $2,000 off you, please, just to tell you something. I'm putting through,
Just to do what you used to do before you were $2,000 richer.
Just put him through something unnecessary, fucking sedating him and all that shit for that.
Yeah. That's been my life.
Livid.
I think in a way I'm sort of relieved that it isn't anything more, because I mean they could have found all sorts.
That's true.
So it definitely could have been worse, and it's a little bit of peace of mind if nothing else. But I must admit, it was so strange when we picked him up yesterday, because in my head I was expecting like super waggy tail, like, oh my god, where have you been?
Yeah.
But actually he just didn't really move because he was still sleepy from the anaesthetic. So it was just dopey and he couldn't walk properly.
It's not that, he just hates you.
Yeah.
He hates you because you left him there.
I honestly felt like that. It was like, you fuckers. I thought I was getting adopted.
He was like, I was hoping.
And then you turned up.
Maybe the next family's got steroids.
Yeah, maybe the next owners can fucking give me what I need. Oh,
God.
Yeah, so that's been my life. So because I think me and my wife are so used to this past week, or slightly longer now, getting up in the early hours, we just could not sleep last night. Teddy was out. Like, he was fine. He was snoring.
Boatload of steroids. He was happy.
And we were like wide awake at 3 o'clock.
Yeah, I know that feeling, pal.
So, like, it's worse than having a kid.
Come around here, mate, next time.
Well, I would, but you don't answer your phone. Oh, dear. So, yeah, that's been my week.
Glad he's well, and I'm glad he's on the up, and I'm glad that you can all finally get back to a normal, healthy, sleeping, living pattern.
Fingers crossed, because I friggin' need it. Are you all right, by the way?
Yeah, grandiose, pal. So, shall we move on?
Let's do it.
What have you got coming up for us today?
It isn't what I originally planned for today, but I thought since everything that's gone on with the vets has happened, it felt appropriate to do a little bit on the weirdest things that vets have experienced from pet owners.
Okie dokie.
And the weirdest requests that they've received.
Can my dog have steroids, please?
No, just have an endoscopy and biopsies and bloods taken. It'll only be £1,500.
Yeah, I'll take that money in your wallet there. Oh, you won't be needing that.
So, yes, that's what I will be doing for you. And what on earth have you got? Because I do recall, Ian, that the other week you said that you had something that was really hard-hitting and soul-destroying.
God, yeah, well, Completely disregard that. I changed it.
Oh, okay.
Because it was too hard-hitting, too soul-destroying, and too out there.
Okay. So what have you got for us today?
Well, Jordan, it is funny that you say you changed your segment for today, because what I'm going to be going into today was actually supposed to be what we were going into last week.
Nice.
When we had to rearrange everything and record like a day before release because of said early mornings with a steroidless dog.
That's the one.
So today I have got the story of the Pollock twins, two young sisters, and it is the kind of story that'll get your cogs going, Jordan. And by the end of it, I am sure you're going to be thinking,
Load of Pollocks.
I hate fish. Is there really something to reincarnation?
We'll find out, will we?
That's the question you're going to be asking yourself.
Okay.
So
I'll take your word for it.
I do have to warn you, though, there is a bit of sad news near the beginning of the story. We all know what the word reincarnation means, so it does imply that death has to happen first. So with that said, Jordan, glue tight the soles of your feet to your eardrums, because this story soon spirals into a series of strange events that may point to the undeniable proof of life after death.
Let's go.
In the 1950s, John and Florence Pollock were living a relatively peaceful life in Hexham. We're back in Hexham for the second time in the podcast history here in England. John ran a milk delivery business, whilst Florence stayed home and cared for their two daughters, Joanna, aged 11, and Jacqueline, aged 6. And while the Pollocks were devout Catholics, John himself had some unconventional beliefs for someone so religious. Any guesses, Jordan?
He didn't think pumpkins existed. Was that it?
Got it in one.
Nice, yeah. I mean, that's one of the risks that you take at living at Hexham.
He believed that all heads were evil.
Did he believe that animals needing steroids are better off without them?
Possibly. Maybe that's where your vet's from.
It could be, yeah. I'll ask him.
Ask him next time, yeah. You from Hexham there, pal? Oh, how did you know?
Imagine if it were.
Have you heard of my heads? No, Jordan, none of that stuff. From an early age, John had developed a firm belief in reincarnation. Despite this being a concept not traditionally accepted in Christianity, he would often speak of it, much to the disapproval of Florence, his other half, who was more rooted in traditional Catholic teachings. So he's going to be like, hey, I just killed a mosquito, but that's going to come back as someone. She's like, shut up!
There's a pumpkin.
They don't exist, so definitely not, mate. Idiot.
Sorry. As a steroid.
Oh, yeah, don't give it to dogs. So of the sisters, Joanna was the older of the two. She was outgoing, kind-hearted, and always looked out for her little sister Jacqueline, who, on the other hand, was a little bit more reserved and clumsy, which meant she'd suffered a couple of small accidents as a child, one leaving her with a noticeable scar on her forehead. But these girls were the best of friends, and they were absolutely inseparable. Now, you got to remember that scar.
So she's like female Harry Potter. It's cool.
Precisely, yeah. Got a little scar on the old Freud there. Don't.
Where's a wand?
I don't know what to say to that.
Fine, yeah, let's move on.
But sadly, in 1957, the poor Pollocks' lives would take a devastating turn. It was the morning of May 7th, 1957. Joanna and Jacqueline were walking to a church with a friend. It was a sunny day, the girls were excited, but on that day, whilst walking along the path, they were a little too close to the main road, and the girls were suddenly hit by a speeding car.
Oh dear.
The driver, who was reportedly a local woman, was in a state of emotional distress and had deliberately run them down in what was later determined to be a suicide attempt.
Oh god.
And both Joanna and Jacqueline were sadly killed instantly.
Wait.
Yeah, I don't know. I read that many times myself as well.
Okay. Yeah, I'm confused, but we'll carry on.
The deaths were a massive shock, not only to the Pollock family, but to the entire community, as the family were well known and respected. Florence fell into deep grief, unable to cope with the sudden loss of both her daughters, but while she was consumed by her sorrow, John's response was different and almost eerie. His beliefs made him convinced that this horrible act wasn't the end for his daughters. In fact, he firmly believed that they would return to him somehow, some way, someday, through reincarnation.
Right.
His faith in this idea was unwavering, though obviously, to those around him, it seemed like he was just living in hope, or maybe just using it as a coping mechanism, especially to Florence, who dismissed it as wishful thinking brought on by extreme grief, which is, I'm pretty sure, what probably most of us would be thinking at this time.
Yeah.
Roughly a year later, though, the couple were still relatively young. They had decided they wanted to try for more children, and soon after, again, Florence became pregnant, so they are moving on with their lives.
Okay, yeah.
But with the pregnancy came a huge fucking surprise. Florence was pregnant with twins.
Okay.
Uh-oh. Now, this was strange for one, because there was no history of twins in the family on either side, and coupled with John's insistence that his daughters would be born again, it began to make the family wonder if maybe, just maybe, his previously thought insane ramblings could indeed possibly be true.
So we all know where this is going. At the end.
Sorry. Is it a little bit too predictable?
Oh, well, I don't know. Maybe. We'll find out.
You're right, though, so you don't need to wait. On October 4th, 1958, Florence gave birth to two healthy girls who the couple named Gillian and Jennifer. And immediately after the twins' birth, John began to notice some odd details. And the very first thing that grabbed his attention was the birthmarks.
Okay.
Jennifer, the younger of the two twins, had two very distinctive birthmarks. One was small, located on her waist, a feature she shared with Jacqueline, the younger daughter who had passed away, but this could have been dismissed as a coincidence. But then there was the second one, which was even more striking, as it was a large dark birthmark square on her frickin' forehead, Jordan, in the exact same spot.
Harry Potter.
Exactly. In the exact same spot Jacqueline had had that prominent scar from the accident years earlier. This scar had been a defining feature of Jacqueline's appearance, and the fact that Jennifer had a similar mark in the exact same place was an eerie resemblance too hard to just ignore.
Absolutely.
You can't just chuck that out the window and be like, nah, whatever, mate.
She also didn't have a wand. More striking resemblance.
Hang on a minute. My old daughter didn't have a cat, and neither does this one. Similarities.
Jesus. They didn't have a cobra. Or a rhino.
How strange.
How strange.
Yeah, that's cobra noise.
Okay.
Duh.
Oh, yeah, sorry. My bad.
Florence initially resisted the idea. After all, birthmarks were common enough, and to her, this was all just a coincidence, whereas John saw it as a sign that his belief in reincarnation had been 100% confirmed. Jennifer was a clear reincarnation of Jacqueline, meaning Gillian was obviously the reborn Joanna.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. As the twins grew, the Pollocks started noticing even more bizarre connections between the twins and their deceased daughters. When Gillian and Jennifer reached around 3 years old, the family started giving them toys that had once belonged to their passed away sisters. But Gillian and Jennifer didn't just want any old toy from the bunch. They began asking for specific toys, even though they had no knowledge that these toys even existed.
Oh, yeah, that's weird.
That is weird, but it gets weirder, because the girls knew which dolls had belonged to Joanna and which had belonged to Jacqueline, identifying them with an eerie accuracy that neither parent could explain. And I can hear your thoughts, Jordan, and no, this wasn't just a case of the twins were just guessing, because you see, they even specifically identified toys by names that their deceased sisters had given to them that they shouldn't and couldn't have known.
Yeah, okay, fine. You're piling on the evidence.
There you go, yeah, so these girls are sat there like, chuck us Bill, Mum. And Mum's like, what? Like, yeah, you know, Bill, fucking scraggly hair, one arm, button eyes, in the cupboard underneath the sandwich bags, to the left of the kayak. Chuck is in, please. And she's like, oh, reincarnation is real. Oh.
Oh, they just said, can I have Harry Potter in the cupboard under the stairs?
What? How did they? Yeah, they didn't know that Harry Potter was a thing. And the daughters have seen it on TV.
Must have.
Oh, how did they know? It didn't stop there, though, Jordan. The twins began exhibiting knowledge of places they had never been and events they hadn't experienced. When the family moved back to Hexham, apparently they moved away at some point, I missed that bit, the twins began to point out landmarks that only Joanna and Jacqueline would have been familiar with. They recognised the school their older sisters had attended, and even the park where the family used to play, which were places they had never even visited before. But it wasn't just general knowledge. They weren't just kids being kids pointing to a playground. They were able to provide details they just shouldn't have fucking known, mate. What do you think of that?
It's hard to sort of argue against all of that, isn't it?
Yeah.
For once.
I sort of finally shut you up, mate. One particularly chilling moment came when the twins began talking about the accident that had taken their older sister's lives. The parents had never told them about it. They deliberately avoided bringing up the subject to try and protect the twins from the trauma, but one day, Florence overheard the girls discussing in vivid detail about being hit by a car, and it even went as far as the girls reenacting parts of the event.
Oh.
How would they know about that? Jordan, Mr. Naysayer over there. Ooh, I don't think this is real. Yeah, well, explain that one.
It was just that deleted scene from Harry Potter.
With the car.
Yeah.
when it flies and shit.
It just flew into somebody.
God. Adding to this was the twins' extreme fear of cars. Every time they saw one, especially one moving towards them, they would panic and try and hide behind their mother, a reaction that seemed maybe a little bit too intense for children who had never experienced any trauma related to cars themselves, which does seem a little weird because we all know what kids are like with cars and roads.
Yeah.
You know, they just fucking beeline onto the road. They don't know the danger. It hasn't quite occurred to them that that thing's heavy yet.
Yes, they haven't seen the old hedgehog adverts, have they?
They haven't, no. King of the road.
Oh, it was great.
We actually put them on, didn't we? We linked those before.
We did.
Because we spoke about our favourite ones.
It's a great 12-bar blues.
I'm so glad that we've come on from there, actually have things to talk about now. Back then,
You
if
say
somebody said to me, mate, you're going to last 112 episodes, I'd have been like, mate, we're scraping the barrel at hedgehog adverts at episode 6, so... Over time, Florence's skepticism...
Yeah. Bikini.
Florence's skepticism began to wane. She had initially resisted John's insistence that the twins were the reincarnation of Joanna and Jacqueline, but it seemed that the evidence was mounting, and it became hard to ignore. The birthmarks, the memories, the recognition of places, the disturbing knowledge of the car accident, all of this began to wear down her resistance. She still wasn't as firmly convinced as John, but she could no longer deny that something unusual was happening, and it did seem that her daughters were being returned to her in some strange and incomprehensible way.
Okay.
Now we get to the science part. Science.
Thank God.
You know what? I've got a little bit of an issue with this scientist, but I'll get there in a second.
Someone making sense.
You don't know what he's going to say, okay? So shut your face.
Okay.
Because you could be on my side.
But I'm guessing not.
No, he is. You plonk.
You Pollock.
Word of the Pollock twins eventually reached the ears of Dr. Iain Stevenson. Cool first name, spelt wrong, but I'll let it slide.
Spelt correctly.
No, that's the incorrect way, Jordan. I don't want to spend too much time on this. That's why I said I'll let it slide, right? Just leave it alone.
I won't.
Right. Well, yeah, go for it, mate. Go on.
Who spells Ian with 2 eyes?
A normal person who is from a place who spells it like that with 2 eyes.
A normal person from Idiotsville.
Who doesn't give the dog steroids? Oh, my dog's ill. Shall I give him this medicine? No.
At least a vet didn't suggest your name.
How do you know? You know what my dad does for a living.
Well, were they from Hexham?
You know what my mum does? My mum's a #1 steroid pusher in the UK.
Was she?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I'll need to get in touch.
Oh, yeah, she'll sort you right out. Dr. Iain Stevenson was a psychiatrist and professor who liked to investigate claims of reincarnation. He was a respected academic, and unlike many who dabbled in paranormal research, he approached cases with a scientific rigour that earned him the credibility. This is the part that I have a bit of trouble with, because if you're looking at things scientifically, then you're only going to be able to measure it with scientific means, if that makes sense. You know, you're looking at something which is paranormal, not something which is normal.
Hard to sort of measure.
Yeah, you can't apply your small world view of just one aspect to it and expect it to fit.
Yes.
So you do kind of need to push your limits of science into trying to investigate things that are outside of scientific nature.
That was long-winded, but I get what you're saying.
Thank you. Thank you very much. So this scientist had studied hundreds of reincarnation cases worldwide, looking for patterns and evidence that could support the phenomenon, which is, pretty cool. That's a cool thing. But in 1964, Stevenson travelled to England to investigate the twins. He interviewed the family, studied their accounts, and even took detailed notes on their birthmarks and the twins' behaviours, and found that these cases were particularly compelling because it did seem to have all the hallmarks of a strong reincarnation case.
I mean, it does sound it.
He's on my side. Screw you, Jordan. He's on my side. One of the things Stevenson noted was reincarnation memories. In his experience, they often faded as a child grew, and this is exactly what happened with Gillian and Jennifer. By the time the twins grew to around 5 years old, the strange memories of their older sisters had begun to fade. They stopped talking about the car accident and no longer showed the same knowledge as their sisters' lives. As Gillian and Jennifer grew older, they went on to lead normal lives, but despite the fading memories, John Pollock remained convinced until the day that he died that his daughters had been reincarnated and Joanna and Jacqueline had been returned to him in the form of Julian and Jennifer. So Jordan, I just need to know, what do you think about this?
I think that's really odd. It's really hard to make sense logically outside of a paranormal nature how they could know various toys and what their deceased siblings, as it were, used to name these things. And yeah, it's really odd. And the other thing as well, I would imagine as the parents, obviously you've mourned the loss of 2 children, and then you have 2 other children, and one of the parents says, well, I think this is a reincarnation. I think that's going to mess with you too.
Yeah, that could be quite distressing in itself.
Yeah, and especially if they have a likeness, and then by the time they're 5 years old, that likeness is gone.
Yeah.
You're going to mourn them again, aren't you?
Yeah, I guess you would do, yeah, because like it said, she didn't believe it, and then, she started to wear down, and then, she was like kind of getting a bit on board and stuff.
Yeah.
So she was getting like, okay, yeah, maybe it is, maybe it's not, maybe this is my daughter's in some way, but then like you say, it gets to 5 years old, then all of a sudden the thing you're sort of getting used to and getting comfortable with is taken away from you, and you lose them too again. You would be like mourning again.
Yeah, like that feels kind of horrendous in a weird way.
Yeah.
You would definitely want to close that chapter of your life, wouldn't you? But that seems like that is a regurgitating thing almost.
Yeah, you'd be wanting to have the 2 new children in order to start the new chapter and move on and move forward, not to sort of be constantly looking backwards towards that trauma and horror.
Exactly. It's like you don't want to regurgitate that. You want some steroids. Sort it right out.
That'll help you right out.
Yeah, really odd. I enjoyed the story, though. I think it's quite compelling. I do think the idea of, particularly with children and reincarnation, is so hard to argue. We've had a couple of similar things in the past, and I don't know how you disprove that so easily. I mean, it could be coincidence, of course, but all those things lining up are so minuscule in the odds.
Yeah. I mean, there's a whole thing people say, oh, maybe the parents coach the children to say things.
Oh, I see, yeah.
They teach them to say things that, will make them seem like the parents aren't telling them. So they go, whenever I show you this teddy, just shout, Bill the teddy.
I see.
So, it looked to say, for example, for camera, they pull this teddy out and then the kid just goes, Bill the teddy. And then the mum just goes, how did they know that? They're not supposed to know that. This was their dead sister's toy or whatever.
Yes.
So it looks like to the outside world. I'm not saying that's what they did.
No.
I'm just saying that's one of the theories, which is maybe a bit more plausible, but then that's looking at it with your rational science brain again, isn't it, really?
And also that's implying, I suppose, that these parents are fraudsters, really, to try and gain fame.
Exactly. If it comes down to money, then I'd say it's more logical to maybe think that as well. Don't just be like, no, you're lying, mate.
The end.
Yeah, think about it as a possibility as well.
Super strange.
Very weird.
But I enjoyed it, thank you.
No problem. I go to sleep now, mate, I'm dying.
Let's hope not.
Right, tell me some vet stuff.
All right. Well, Iain, I think it's safe to say that many people, when they were children, kind of have a dream that one day maybe they'll become a vet. Like the thought of, I don't know, helping animals and seeing them every day, that just sounds great.
Yeah.
However, I guess as we get older, we understand that being a vet not only means petting cats and dogs every day, but also requires dealing with one slight complicated obstacle. The pet owners themselves.
Oh, okay, right. I thought you were saying it might include putting pets down, which is a horrible aspect of it. You're like, no, the people.
Well, I mean, there will be that too, but I wasn't going to go there.
The people are the shits.
Yes, so the owners of pets can be a little bit of a complicated matter. So here today, I have a collection of vet stories from around the world from a Facebook group where they share the most bizarre requests they have ever received.
Nice.
So starting off, we have the story of a lady who brought in a small garden snail in a jar.
What?
And insisted that they scan it for a microchip. She was convinced it was rare, and that scientists or governments were probably tracking or /studying it.
Okay, right. I hope there's a button for
immediate locking up.
Yeah, like, the human doctors to come in and maybe just take over a little bit.
Yeah, it certainly sounds it. They go on to say that we humoured her, ran the scanner over it. Surprise, surprise, the snail was not microchipped. And that's where the story ends. So I don't know if that happened. If, if a section of the room that she was in, metal bars fell from the ceiling. I don't know.
That's all that was able to be posted because she killed them all after that.
Oh, God.
How about this knife? Is this knife rare?
Is this microchipped? Oh, horrible. Another one says, new clients requested that I cover the windows and turn out the lights when they arrived for their pets' appointments because they were vampires. They ended up being wonderful pet owners, however, but the new staff members thought I'd lost my mind when I'd informed them of the new client's special needs.
I am genuinely lost for words. I don't feel that people who are running a busy business, and they are having to deal with things...
Might even have an emergency at hand.
Exactly. Shit's going on. There might be dealing with life and death. They've got all this shit going on. And they're like, nah, let's just turn the lights off just because we've got some vampires coming over. So, no, you don't have to humour them. You say on the phone, no, fuck off. Just bring your goddamn pet in. Get a brolly if you don't want to see the sunlight, all right?
I suppose, yeah. It's a bit hard to imagine that, but apparently it happened.
Lord.
Another one says, a woman brought her young female cat in because she was getting very fat. I imagine the cat, not the woman.
I thought I'd walk the cat here, a bit of exercise.
Yeah. On examination, it was clear that the cat was heavily pregnant, but the woman said that was impossible. The cat never went outside, and the only other cat she had in contact with was her brother. Is he neutered? I asked.
Oh.
And most... and she replied that I was suggesting something very obscene and marched off to complain to my boss. Fortunately, he was able to convince the lady that cats don't have the same moral standards as humans.
I was going to say, can siblings in cats, is that...
That is definitely going to be a thing, and same with dogs.
No, but I mean, in humans, obviously that would create maybe birth defects and problems and stuff like that. Is that similar with the animal world?
You know what? I don't know. I suspect if it is, not as much.
Mate, you've been hanging around vets enough recently. I thought you'd have known.
I should have all the answers right now.
Exactly.
I know if your dog's got intestinal problems, he probably needs a steroid.
Steroids, pal. Yeah, even I know that now.
Another one says, our hospital manager recently had a member of his church call him at home and ask if it was possible his dog had impregnated his cat.
God.
The dog is a pug and his kittens had smushed faces.
God.
So I guess that's where he got the conclusion.
I don't know if this is the same, right? But when you were a kid, did you think that dogs were boys and cats were girls?
No.
Did you not? It's just me then.
I think it's just... I've never heard of that.
I've heard somebody else say it recently, right? I can't remember where, but, of the four-legged domestic creatures, dogs were boys and cats were girls. That's the way it worked in my head.
That's really interesting.
And then I remember the day I found out that, no, you get female and male of dogs and female and male of cats, and I was just like, what? My mind was blown.
Yeah, that's really odd.
I needed some steroids that day.
I can imagine. I mean, I suppose a slightly similar vein, it took me longer than I care to admit to realise, or maybe even be told, that only female cows produce milk. It never occurred to me that they had to be female. I just thought, oh, cows, teats, they could just do it.
We spoke about this on the podcast.
We have absolutely said this before, but yeah, it just took me forever to realise that. So that's about the only similarity I think I've ever had. But definitely didn't think cats were female and dogs were male. Idiot.
That's the way it works. I don't know.
Another one goes, I had an elderly client who was struggling to get his severely obese dog to lose weight. We formulated a diet and exercise plan that the owner was dedicated to following. Yet, after a month, the dog's weight was still stable. I asked him to keep a journal of everything he feeds the dog to the morsel, as a sneaky treat are often the culprit. But he later presented me with a journal that showed an additional 3 cooked meals, plus treats that he fed his dog alongside his formulated diet.
Oh, God.
Once we removed the pancake breakfast, the dog dropped 20 pounds.
That sounds good.
It does sound good.
Can I have that? I mean, if his dog's not having it anymore, can I have the pancake breakfast?
You definitely can. I mean, if not, that alien from a few episodes back can certainly make you a few.
Nice. Yeah, maybe actually allow him to finish it and just give me a pizza.
Yeah. Another one. We had a former client bring in a cat to be neutered. He asked if prior to the surgery we could place his cat in a kennel with a female cat for one final...
Oh, Lord.
One sharp receptionist politely responded with, I'm sorry, sorry, sir, but we no longer offer that service.
Do you mean they used to?
No, I think they were just kind of appeasing him. However, we have a room for ourselves.
However, yeah, I'll stick the cat in with me. I'll show it a good time.
Oh, God.
Fucking hell, man.
And that's why you're not a vet.
Yeah, I was kicked off of vet school day one.
Oh, yeah. Well, thank God.
Only because of a joke as well. I won't tell you that joke. I'm sure you can figure it out.
Jesus, I'm going to move on. We had a client asked to put down her 7-year-old golden because she was tired of dealing with an occasional allergy issue.
Lord.
Then she asked if her husband showed up with lost flyers to just not say anything.
Wow.
Needless to say,
Put her down.
we got the dog into rescue.
Yeah, fucking hell.
That's horrible.
That is awful, yeah.
So, yeah, I'm going to take Teddy back to the vets.
Don't tell my wife.
Another one. We had a client come in the other day for an exam because they were worried about 2 large lumps they'd found on their female dog's underbelly.
Oh.
Turns out, of course, the dog was not female after all.
Oh.
And the best part, it took them several minutes to convince the owner that her dog was in fact male.
So are you stupid?
I mean, obviously.
All dogs are males. It's the cats that are the females. God.
Oh, yeah, she didn't get that memo, did she?
No, she didn't know.
Oh, this is a weird one. A client asked for testicles from their dog back so he could keep them in a jar at his office. So when his daughters were old enough to date, he could bring the boyfriend to the room and explain what happened to her last boyfriend that didn't treat her well.
It's a good idea.
To be honest, it's pretty clever. I don't know if he ever got the testicles, though.
Well, in hospitals, they have programs where you can take home your own...
Like placenta and stuff, can't you, or something?
Yeah, but like limbs as well, like legs and...
I find that so weird. What are you going to do with them? I mean, make an interesting stew.
You and I have very different minds. I was thinking overly large butt plug.
I suppose anything is if you're brave enough.
Exactly, yeah. Even the stew, cook it first, pour it in.
There you go, Valentine's meal sorted.
I'll come round to you, mate.
Coming up to the last few now. I had a client ask for a copy of my license so she could open up a veterinary account at a distributor to get flea medicine. She promised not to buy controlled drugs.
Oh, well, as long as you promised.
I mean, it was a pinky promise, so you can't break those things.
Can't break that, no, not at all.
Penultimate one, a client wearing a moo-moo dress came in with her dog that had fleas. She said she had a rash and was wondering if it was a flea bite, so she proceeded to lift up her dress to show the doctor her itchy crotch.
Oh.
And was not wearing underwear.
Oh. What is a moo-moo dress? I'm just...
I had to look that up myself, so I think it's just like an all-in-one dress, basically.
Yeah, big sort of flowery...
I mean, I guess flowery isn't part of it, but I don't think moo-moo is like, oh yeah, flowers.
Yeah, you think moo-moo, you think flowers.
Well, you thought of cats and dogs as being separate sexes, so I mean...
Yeah.
You can think of much things.
DEFIN. Let's see if that comes up with anything. Oh, it's MWMW. It's a loose dress of Hawaiian origin with a category of fashion known as aloha wear.
Of course it is.
Like the aloha shirt. I'm reading this from Wikipedia, bro. They are often brilliantly coloured with floral patterns of Polynesian motifs. Screw you. I was right.
Of course.
So you do think moo-moo and you think fucking floral. Jordan.
Oh, right.
So over there laughing at me. Says it in the description.
Well, I'm pressing forward, Ian.
You're moving on.
I am.
It's a very flowery way of saying it, Jordan. But...
yeah. Last one, and just because I think this is great. We had a client that wanted us to neuter her dog instead of spay her because it was cheaper.
I'm sorry. What? How does that work? That doesn't work, does it?
So obviously, to neuter a dog
Yeah.
is going to be cheaper and less invasive than spaying a dog.
Yeah, sorry, right. So I didn't know there was a difference between spaying and neutering. I thought, right, and this is going to sound really like it's a joke.
Is this a revelation to you now?
I just thought you neutered the male species and you spayed the female. Is that not right?
You do, that is correct. But obviously...
Oh, well, hey!
So you're right.
Nice!
But
I'll leave it there.
spaying a female is going to be more costly because they have to, like, properly open them up and everything.
Yeah.
So this stupid idiot of a pet owner thought, oh, well, neutering's cheaper, I'll just go for that.
Got you now. Right, okay. Right, so we could have just skipped the entire last 10 minutes of back and forth because I understand if I just listened in the first place.
I thought you were just going to say that I thought neutered and spaying were the same thing.
No, thank God I'm not that stupid.
That's what I thought you were going to say.
No, thank God. I just thought that you would have thought I was joking because, like, you know, I said dogs were boys, cats were girls. You spay one and you neuter the other.
Yeah.
And I thought, you know, it's along the same lines.
No, you were right to think that. And actually, just one last one.
Oh.
We had an owner ask her tech to trim her toenails, meaning the owner's nails and not the pet's.
Oh, why?
That's things that you have to deal with as a vet, apparently.
Okay.
So anyway, there you have it, Ian. It's a collection of stories dealing with pet owners. So I suppose maybe it does prove once and for all that being a vet isn't maybe all that's cracked up to be.
Absolutely not. Yeah, I take back my childhood dreams. Oh, right then. So, thank you very much for that, Jordan. Some fantastic stories.
You're very welcome.
Was this all jotted down as you were sat in the waiting room for more your many vet visits?
Yeah, it was hard to see, though, because they had to close the blinds off for the vampires.
Of course, yeah.
But, you know, we got there.
Thank God. Thank the Lord. We're there and we're safe. So with that, we're running very long, so we should probably just call it. So does that about bring us round to the end of today's episode, Jordan?
I think it does.
Hunky-dory. Thank you for tuning into today's episode of Two Guys What's Up. Don't forget to follow the show wherever you listen to us so you don't miss another episode, and maybe even tell a friend. Take your friend to the vets, and before they start doing anything, just say steroids. And then walk out triumphantly playing Two Guys What's Up on your iPhone.
Lovely, yeah. And if you'd like to get in touch with us, our Linktree link is in the bio of this episode, which you can click on and be jetted off to every link you will ever need for all your Two Guys What's Up essentials. You want to get your own Two Guys What's Up t-shirt? Click the link.
Want to learn the difference between cats and dogs? Click the link.
Want to become a vampire pet owner? Click the link.
And if you click that link, it will blast you off straight towards our Patreon, the home of all your Two Guys What's Up extra essentials, including pin badges, shoutouts, t-shirts, and if you really can't get enough of our voices and tales, well, now you can get more of each because there are 19 bonus episodes sat up there right now waiting for you to go and have a little old listen with your beautiful ears, and they come out on the last Friday of every single month, and all that is available for just £3, and I can't emphasize enough, £3, 19 episodes.
Absolutely. And there will be a 20th one in about 4 days' time.
Holy moly!
Better go to a vet for that.
That's right, mate, I got plenty of steroids on fire.
So if you want to help support the show and get some cool stuff while you do so, head over to patreon.com/Two Guys What's Up to check out all the goodies over there. The link will be down below for your clicking pleasure.
But if you can't do that, but you still like to help us out, then a 5-star rating and review in your podcast app of choice would be the best, freest, easiest, and most helpful way to do that for us, and we would be eternally grateful. But on that note, thanks for listening. Y'all have an amazing week, and we will see you next Monday. I'm driving along. I'm very sad. You know, it is a horrible situation to be in. I'm not making light of that. But she looks at two young girls and goes, "Oh, there's the hardest thing in my vicinity. I'll drive into that."
Wow. Yeah, that's it. That's yeah. Okay. I'm assuming this driver was still around and therefore paid for her wrongdoings.
I dare say so. I didn't really go down that route of research as it wasn't poignant to the reincarnation part of it. But I mean, I hope the police didn't just let her go.
There's not much you can joke about. We might as well move forward.
I'm going to cut around this.
But well.
Sorry, my darling wife is just texting me.
Nice.
We're talking in emojis for some reason.
Is she trying to say, don't forget my f***ing Valentine's gift, you prick.
Oh, well, you know what, right? I ordered these and they are going to be late, so I thought, well, fuck it, she's not going to get them in time. And then I ordered her something else, but her and I have separate Amazon accounts, and then she logged into the one that it's a joint one, she uses her own off the side.
Yeah.
But she logged into our joint one to look through something for some reason, and then was like, oh, have you ordered me this present? I was like, fuck's sake. So now the one that, I was going to give you isn't coming, and then the other one that is here, you've ruined because you've now seen it. Bitch. I didn't want to say to her, don't check the Amazon, because, I was trying to keep it all as a massive surprise.
Yes.
I mean, this is coming out a week on Monday. To anyone else, they're going to be like, yeah, duh, dickhead, because it always comes out on a Monday. But, to me, that means something. But tomorrow is Valentine's Day. So the point I'm trying to get at is that I can say this, it wouldn't ruin a surprise, but I'm going to be making my wife a 3-course meal while she's at work tomorrow.
Nice.
She's going to come home and she's going to go, oh, what a day at work. And I'm going to go, well, sit yourself down, babe.
Imagine she's like, oh, I've had such a bad day. I really want a Chinese.
You know what? She's almost ruined it so many times. Like, she said to me the other day, because I'm planning, massive detail, I'm planning on cooking lasagna, right, as a main.
Yes.
Because she loves lasagna. She's like Garfield. Same colour hair as well. Tuesday, she was like, you know what? We haven't had a lasagna in a while. Let's have one tomorrow. And I had to then somehow convince her to not have lasagna. And, I was like, oh, well, we'll have that Friday. And she was like, no, because Friday we'll be getting a takeaway because it's date night. And I was like, no, let's not get a takeaway. And she kind of looked at my belly and was like, you don't want takeaway. And I was like, yeah, she's trying to be healthy, save some money, blah, blah, blah. Just all while trying to not tell her that I'm going to be cooking her this 3-course meal because I don't want another fucking surprise ruined.
Yes. Or she comes home early because she's got a headache.
Yeah, that'd be something she'd do. I mean, I dare say she's probably suspecting something because, me saying no to a takeaway is like, I don't know, Teddy saying no to steroids or something,
It is, isn't it? and you both end up fucking vomiting from it.
Yeah, it's unheard of. But yeah, hopefully good. Tomorrow goes all right. But where were we anyway? What was I talking about? Oh yeah, they went to the places. They saw the school. They saw the playgrounds that they just shouldn't have known. Anything to add to that, Jordan?
No.
Give me a shock soundbite. Calm down, Jordan. Because one particularly chilling moment came when the twins began...